Alright, Shalom, Kol Loyimla, Yahweh, Bahasham, YAHWASHI. Praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, YAHWASHI. Yahweh being the most high power, the greatest all time, the greatest there is, the greatest there was, and the greatest ever will be. YAHWASHI, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and the only one who is the mediator to get to Yahweh. Alright, so I'm just gonna jump straight into this. This is Sirach chapter 8 verse 7. Rejoice not over thy greatest enemy being dead, but remember that we die all. You know, because death is a part of life. People, some people don't make it to be old, but even turning old is a part of life. You know, growing old, aging. You know, but this is we owe everybody at a certain point. They face that transition, I'll say. They face that transition, but this time around we in a different time right now, so we at the time of the end. So some people's gonna be saved, some people gonna be destroyed, some people gonna die, some people ain't gonna die. From some people's gonna be saved from the coming destruction, those who was chosen by Yahweh, So this is Proverbs chapter 27 verse 1. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. I'm gonna jump back to this real quick. Sirach chapter 8 verse 7. Rejoice not over thy greatest enemy being dead, but remember that we die all. Cause at the same time too, life is it's hard, especially if you're a so-called black, Hispanic, or Native American. This is the valley of the shadow of death. You live in the hood, you live around your people, it's dangerous. Even no matter where you at, it's all dangerous. Death is everywhere, So you making fun of somebody dying is a very likely chance that could also happen to you, Because nobody is exempt from judgments or up to the most high power, Yahweh, So it's like a tightrope. Life is like a tightrope that you walk on. So if I'm walking on a tightrope and there's somebody ahead of me and they fall, I'm not gonna laugh at them for falling. I'm be like, I hope that don't happen to me. I better make this right walk for myself. I better walk right on this tightrope lest I fall like this man. It's not nothing to rejoice after. So this is Proverbs chapter 27 and 1. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Because you never know what's gonna happen. Any given time, anybody could die, anybody could pass away. Somebody get shot in the head, somebody get hit with a straight bullet. It happens. Nobody is exempt from it. All you gotta do is try to do the right thing and hope you don't face that. This is in Esau, the so-called white man, he put because we all guilty of we boasting into the next day or to the next week or the month. Because some people some people get checks, some people watch TV shows that they want to see that because there is a weekly, like if you watch a weekly episodic, that's the right word I'm saying, series of a TV show, you always at the edge of your seat, chomping at the bit, waiting for that next episode or a movie. You want to go to the movie, see, or a fight, video game, a fight or a video game, things like that. Because they promote these things like a fight. Floyd Mayweather, he have a fight coming up and it'll be like probably 5-6 months ahead, and you can't wait to see that fight. So you like, damn, I can't wait till that time comes up. So you boasting into the next day. So, but you're really supposed to just live day to day. You're supposed to worry about what you got at the present. You got something to eat, you got somewhere to stay. You worry about stuff like that. You don't try to look too ahead of things, But at the same time too, Esau, he makes it harder because we gotta pay bills, we gotta do this, gotta do that. So we constantly worry about these things, but for the most part we gotta put our faith in Yahweh, Bahasham, YAHWASHI, and basically hope everything works out perfectly fine day to day. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 12, for man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in the evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in the evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. So just as the fishes in the sea, you know, the fishes in the sea, they swim around, you know, they doing what they doing, and I know where they get caught, you know, and they get cooked and they get eaten. That's how the same way this life is. You never know when you gonna go. So you don't rejoice over somebody, some judgment on somebody that happened. Even judgment can happen to you. Something bad can happen to you where you don't even die, but a harsh judgment come upon you. So you don't what you call it? You don't rejoice over another man's judgment. You just hope for that don't happen to you. You take what happened to him and you apply it to you apply it to yourself, right? You apply it to yourself what happened to him. Not apply with yourself what happened to him, but you actually don't apply to yourself what happened to him. You examine that and you make sure you don't do that, so you don't partake in that same judgment as him, you know. So this is Proverbs chapter 24 verse 17. Rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth. You know, you gotta learn the ways of the Most High. You gotta learn the ways of him, and you gotta learn his ways. For the most part, you have to learn his ways. You can't just you know, you think how you think of him, how you want to think of him. It's not like that. He's his own. The Most High is his own man. You know, he don't take any what you call it. He don't take any recommendations or suggestions for anybody. He knows everything. You know, he's not gonna change his mind or none of that. He don't change. He's just. He knows what he's doing. You know, he's the greatest all the time. Literally, not no Muhammad Ali. So, what I was reading, this is, so you gotta learn his ways for the most part. This is one thing you don't do. This Proverbs chapter 24, 17. Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth. Verse 18. Lest Yahweh see it, and it displease him, and he turn away his wrath from him. You know, so you got a lot of men that want judgment to come out on people and all that. And you know this ain't happening. Why? The reason why it ain't happening, because Yahweh, he gonna do whatever he want to do, and he gonna have mercy upon who he have mercy upon. Secondly, it could be if that man faces some type of judgment, that will be glad in your heart. So being that will be glad, you will find some type of rejoicing over that. It ain't nothing gonna happen to him. Period. And he might turn his wrath on you for wanting that to happen. You know, well, since when do? Because the people of our nation, we all brothers, we all sisters. You know, but for the most part, whoso do the will of the Father, which is Yahweh, the same as our brother and sister and mother. But by flesh, you know, and nationality, we all the same people. We all the children of the Most High. So-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, whoever lineage goes back to the so-called black, Hispanic, or Native American. So the people of your nation is your brother and sister. So since when do you go to your father and ask your father to beat your younger brother or your older brother or your younger sister or your older sister, and your father gonna do that because you asked him to do that? Since when? This is how you gotta think on a higher level. You can't think on you thinking you know, a lot of people, the God they worship a God that God agrees with everything they agree with. Everything they think is right, they think God think is right. But you know, that goes back to self-worship. You worshiping your own personality at the end of the day. You gotta, you know, it's in the scriptures how to Yahweh operates. So this is Micah chapter 7 and 8. Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Yahweh shall be a light unto me. You know? So even in this truth, you got guys wanting guys to actually come out the truth, but it ain't gonna happen. You know, you could even see years later, men saying that some men was gonna fall out the truth. It ain't happen, or because they left amongst that John the Baptist. Look what happened with John the Baptist. You know, the Lord's still dealing with him. So you got men would think for you to fall out the truth, but not knowing that Yahweh's still guiding your steps and he's still dealing with you. You know, probably more than you was before. So you don't you don't. It's not good to rejoice over somebody's downfall. Period. You just see where they went wrong, and you make sure you don't do wrong. So this is Proverbs chapter 21 verse 11. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, and when the wise is instructed, he receives knowledge. You know, some people, they get away with things for a long time, so they could be made an example out of. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise. You know, some people, they follow the ways of somebody who do wrong, and they think it's okay to do it until they see the judgment come down on that person. You know, let's compare it to let's say a man is a coward, right? Everybody knows he's a coward, and he run up in some place where everybody knows he's a coward all his life, and he got a gun, and they be like, everybody get down on the ground. They know he's a coward. They know he ain't gonna do nothing, right? So they still gonna laugh at him. They still gonna scorn him. But let's say when he first comes into that place, he blows somebody's head off with that gun, and then he say everybody get down on the ground. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise. You know, and when the wise is instructed, he receives knowledge. That's how it works. So this is Luke chapter 9 verse 49, and I'm gonna read a couple of these. This is it. And John answered and said, Master, we saw one casting out devils in thy name, and we forbade him, because he followed not with us. And YAHWASHI said unto him, Forbid him not, for he that is not against us is for us. You know. And it came to pass, when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into a village, and the Samaritans to make ready for him, and they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did? But he turned and rebuked them, and said, Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of, for the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. Because right now we in the time of mercy, not in the time of, judgment is gonna still happen. But it's not for you to go and put curses on somebody and hope for that to happen. You know, that's kind of like the ways of the wicked. You know, like I said, we ain't in the time of that. But you know who really puts curses on people? People who do voodoo and witchcraft. So you wanna be different. You wanna be a new man, and you wanna be different. You don't wanna follow, the ways of this world. You wanna do things differently. You wanna stand out from everybody else. Righteously. That's who you strive to be. You strive to be righteous. And how would it look for somebody to be doing, for somebody, you don't return evil for evil. Somebody keep doing bad, you still treat them good. The Most High gonna see that, and he gonna chastise that person. We don't know, some type of judgment is gonna come down sooner or later. So it's not for you to go and put curses on somebody and hope for something to happen to them. Because if you're doing that, you're gonna find some type of rejoicing in their downfall. And like I said, that pleases the Most High, and he turn away his wrath from him. So this is so all that I hope the men talking about, I hope you face your judgment, I hope it's public, and I'ma drink to your death, and that's all. That's not of the Lord, That's not of the Most High. That's another spirit. This is Sirach chapter 34 and 24. When one prayeth and another curseth, whose voice will the Lord hear? I'm gonna read that again. Sirach chapter 34 verse 24. When one prayeth and another curseth, whose voice will the Lord hear? You can answer that for yourself. The obvious answer is when one prayeth. This is John chapter, and praying for spiritual things and better things, not praying for evil to come down on somebody. Like I said earlier, who would come to their father with some type of accusation about their brother or their sister about doing something, and then their father, if you doing good to that person, they doing bad to you. Your father, if you're doing good to your brother and sister, and your brother and sister doing bad to you, your father, he finds out you're gonna do something. But let's think about this. What if you doing the same thing that your brother or your sister is doing? Y'all both might get beat up. Y'all both might get chastised, punished. Or let's say that your brother's more or your sister's more merciful than you, and you don't have any mercy. You gonna be the one that get chastised.